Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Fitness, and with me tonight is our supercars expert, Adam Lemeries.
Thanks, Kobe. And before we get started with the program, we wish Kobe Lambert a very happy birthday. So while you're watching, don't forget to drop the birthday shout outs in the comment section below. Back to you, Kobe.
Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate it. So honored to spend my 22nd birthday with you here in the air, doing what I love the most, talking about motorsports. And yes, tonight we're back on the air live with special Indy 500 coverage. Each day this week, we'll recap the opening day of Indy 500 practice, discuss the latest developments in LMDH, and report about Brad Keselowski's future. First, let's talk about Indy. This morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, cars on the track during the month of May for the first day of practice. We had a brief break due to moisture. Then green once again. Max Chilton had a minor problem when he lost his air hose hanging off the back of his car, but not a big deal at all. But I'm sure Chilton and Carlin Racing are really happy to be back on the track, especially after the team was forced to miss the last round of GMR Grand Prix at the IMS road course because Chilton had travel issues. For the most part, the morning session was uneventful but cut short with less than 20 minutes to go due to moisture on the track. The veterans finished up their session with Graham Rahal fastest at 223.449 miles per hour. Basically, this session included all full-time drivers and those who completed their rookie orientation and refresher during last month's test. Although it's a little too early to understand where everyone is at, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing was on top, picking up right where they left last year. In August 2020, Takuma Sato won the rescheduled Indy 500, his second time winning the greatest spectacle in racing. Sato, 20th fastest in the morning, definitely not an indication of his car performance. Graham quickest in the third RLO Honda. Santino Ferrucci, seventh fastest. Adam, could Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing be the early favorites over Penske, Ganassi, or Andretti?
Oh, sure. Even though it's early, even though it's really early, those three cars look really dominant in first practice. Oh, we know that team has won the Indy 500 with Takuma Sato. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rahal Letterman Racing is a contender for the 2021 Indy 500 win.
Yeah, looking at the top 10 from the morning session behind Graham Rahal, last year's runner-up Scott Dixon, second fastest, three-time Repco Supercars champion Scott McLaughlin, third in the Yellow Submarine, Juan Pablo Montoya fourth, and Ed Jones from Delcon Racing completing the top five. Then Will Power, Santino Ferrucci, Pato Award, James Hinchcliffe, and Helio Castroneves round out the top 10. To me, one of the biggest surprises I saw in that morning session towards the front was Scott McLaughlin. Adam, we're all aware of. I mean, you're aware of McLaughlin's talent from his dominant performance in the supercars at Texas. It all caught us by surprise by how quickly he was able to adapt to oval racing and get up to speed. In his oval debut, the guy challenged Scott freaking Dixon of all people for the win in the closing laps of the Genesis 300. So with McLaughlin driving the yellow submarine livery for Team Penske, Rick Mears in his here giving him advice, and all of the raw talent that Scott McLaughlin had, should we consider this quote unquote rookie a real threat to win the Indy 500?
Oh, yeah. After what he did at Texas, that took a lot of people by surprise because nobody saw this coming. If he were to win the Indy 500, not only it would be good for the IndyCar series, don't forget where he came from, the Repco Supercar Series. All those fans where he lives in Australia, in New Zealand, would go absolutely crazy and put his name among the living legends that have won this very historic race.
Yes, definitely. I think Scott McLaughlin could surprise a lot of people when it's time for the Indy 500. But we know first he has to make the race because we have 35 cars this year, so two are going home. But I really do not think at this moment that Scott McLaughlin is going to be one of the drivers who's going to get bumped from the field because like looking back at Texas, I was just stunned how well he ran. He looked like a veteran. He looks like he's been driving on ovals for about 10 to 15 years and to go out there challenging Scott Dixon, who's one of the best race car drivers on the planet, for the win at Texas. It just really shows how good Scott McLaughlin is, and I think he continues to get more experience, more comfortable in the IndyCar. Scott McLaughlin might not just be a contender for the Indy 500, but at some point might be contending for the championship for many years to come in the NTT IndyCar Series. And on-track action in the early afternoon for the rookies and veterans. 3 drivers participated in that session: J.R. Hildebrand, R.C. Enerson, and Stephen Wilson. 10 years ago, J.R. Hildebrand was about to win the Indy 500, entering 3 and 4 on the final lap. Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 10 years. I remember when I was a little boy watching that on TV, and then when it looked like Hildebrand was going to win, he crashed trying to lap Charlie Kimball as Dan Weldon swept by Hildebrand to win the race in such a spectacular finish. After spending the last few years running the Indy 500 with Brian Rumble, Hildebrand switched over to AJ Foyt Racing this year, running the number 1 Chevrolet in those recognizable ABC Supply colors. Top Gun Racing is a brand new IndyCar team looking to make its series debut with R.C. Enerson, a driver with lots of talent but not many opportunities to show it. Stephen Wilson, back with Andretti Autosport for the first time since he led the 2018 Indy 500 in the final laps before having to come to pit road for fuel. Adam, here's my question. Which driver has the most to prove during the month of May? J.R. Hildebrand, R.C. Enerson, or Stephen Wilson?
Well, if I had to pick a driver, it would have to be J.R. Hildebrand. He came close to winning the Indy 500 a few years ago, but crashed out. He's looking to get back to the brickyard and saying, I can win this Indy 500, and I'll prove it to you guys. Overall, it should be a really good Indy 500 in just a few weeks' time.
Yes, definitely. It's looking like it's going to be a great Indy 500 in a few weeks' time. And for me, I think I also agree with you that J.R. Hildebrand does have the most to prove. For 10 years now, J.R. Hildebrand has been a running joke to many people. He when you say J.R. Hildebrand, people are like, oh, he's the guy who was leading the Indy 500 in the final turn and crashed out and lost it. And I'm sure, a decade later, J.R. Hildebrand is sick and tired of hearing that every single time his name is mentioned. And the best way to shut up all of the people who recognize J.R. Hildebrand as that guy, if he's able to take that number 1 ABC Supply Chevrolet with AJ Foyt Racing to victory lane in the Indy 500, that would definitely be the perfect example of licking the stamps, sending it, and putting your foot down. And after those 3 drivers, Hildebrand, Enerson, and Wilson finished up their session, the track opened up to all drivers until 6 p.m. Eastern time. We had an incident with about an hour and 15 minutes left in practice. The back end of Sebastian Bourdais' car caught on fire on the back end. Bourdais brought the number 14 AJ Foyt Racing Chevrolet to pit road to put out the fire. Ovals haven't been really kind to Bourdais so far during the month of May. Texas Race 1, spun out by Joseph Newgarden, caused heavy damage to the car. Texas Race 2, he didn't even get to complete a lap, involving that huge multi-car wreck at the start. Now, issues on the first day of practice, but I will say it's definitely to have an issue now than later on during the race. Nathan Brown from Indy Star reported that a small oil leak caused the fire on the right rear per Larry Foyt. After this incident, we stayed green the rest of the day with a lot of action. Drivers drafting around the speedway, using the slingshot to pass, and seeing how the car is handled in traffic. At the end of the day, Will Power from Team Penske was fastest in the final section at 226.470 miles per hour, followed by Ryan Hunter-Reay, Takuma Sato, Sage Karam, really great run for that small Brian Rumble team, and Connor Daly in 5th, Simon Pagenaud 6th, followed by Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, Ed Jones, and Marcus Ericsson closed out the top 10. Our usual suspects had a really good first day. Team Penske, Chip Ganassi Racing, Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan, and Andretti Autosport. As I said, with 35 cars in the field, 2 are going to get bumped on Sunday. Still too soon to say who could be endangered, but I will say one driver who could be feeling a little concerned is Pietro Fittipaldi. At the test session last month, his team didn't show much speed at all. Same story in both morning and afternoon sessions as well. However, there's still time for the number 51 Dale Coyne Racing with Rico Racing Honda to figure out its setup to unlock more speed. Another long day of practice tomorrow, Adam. What should be on the day two agenda for all of the teams?
Well, for the teams are that are way down in the standings, uh, they're gonna have to find they're gonna have to find a lot of speed, entering day two. Um, we saw a lot of we saw a lot of great contenders so far in day one of practice, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those one of those drivers sits on the pole when we have qualifying this weekend.
Yes, definitely. Day two should be really interesting tomorrow. Seeing like looking at what happened today, what in both the morning and afternoon sessions. Are we going to see the same teams on top? Are we going to see some teams who were at the bottom shoot up to the front? And I really don't think that today is going to be any indication of what qualifying is going to be like, or tomorrow either, or the next day. What I'm really going to be looking at is Fast Friday when when they're going to turn up the wick and get that huge boost. I'm gonna be wondering what's the pulse speed gonna be? Is it gonna be 232 miles per hour, 233, or even 234? It's really too soon to say, but definitely Fast Friday. Yeah, I mean not Car, Fast Friday. Really looking forward to it as the teams prepare for qualifying. Really important this year. 35 cars. Two are going home. Sunday's bump day. Last row shootout is gonna be intense. I'm sure all of the fans watching are gonna be excited as well. Now some news from the world of sports car racing. Audi and Porsche have decided to partner Multimatic with their LMDH programs. Currently, Multimatic is responsible for turning the Mazda DPI into a race winning program after things got off to a rocky start. Audi and Porsche have enjoyed plenty of success in sports car racing, fighting for the overall wins, especially at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Audi is planning to have cars in IMSA and the FIA World Endurance Championship, but they haven't announced which teams will fill their LMDH prototypes. Porsche, they're working with Team Penske in a factory effort, planning a two-car program in IMSA and two more cars in the WEC on factory status. Each LMDH manufacturer will have a choice between four constructors to work with. Audi, Porsche already chose Multimatic, and then we wait to see if anyone else is going to choose. Delar, who already works with Cadillac, and Ligier at one point did work with Nissan, which is currently no longer in operation, and Orica has a partnership with Acura, and Acura is currently going to be fielding an LMDH program as well, but they haven't said if they're going to continue their partnership with Orica or not, and we'll definitely continue to follow that story here at Grid Network. And this morning, Jim Utter from Motorsport.com dropped a massive scoop about Brad Keselowski joining Denny Hamlin in the ranks of being an owner-driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. Motorsport.com reports that Keselowski is considering an offer to join the ownership group at Roush Fenway Racing. Jack Roush offering Keselowski a contract to drive for the team next season, and the deal includes renaming the organization to RFK Racing, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Adam, what are your initial thoughts on this bombshell report about Brad Keselowski joining forces with Roush Fenway Racing?
When I heard this news, I could not believe it. Uh, Brad Keselowski has had a lot of success with Team Penske over the years, and it would be kind of weird for me if he went over to Roush Fenway Racing, because if he were to go over there as a driver, would it kick out a current driver in one of the cars? All those drivers are really successful. Ryan Newman is a Daytona 500 winner, um, and the three others are very competitive as well. So for me, it was really weird, but we shall see as this news continues.
Yes, definitely. It was quite a sudden development. This was definitely not one of the things that I expected to see when I was scrolling on my Twitter timeline that Brad Keselowski might be switching to Roush Fenway Racing, leaving Team Penske, and not just being a driver, becoming an owner driver with the team potentially being named Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. And it's just massive here. Silly season is starting early in the month of May. And you did bring up a good point about what's going to happen to their current drivers at Roush Fenway Racing, Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher. And according to Jim Utter's report, Brad Keselowski would become the new driver of the number 6 Ford Mustang. That's currently Ryan Newman's seat and leaves a lot of questions about his future in NASCAR. Could Ryan Newman retire and leave NASCAR behind? Could Roush Fenway race and fire up a third Roush car, keep him within the organization, or could Ryan Newman continue his career with a different team? And to all of our viewers watching, please let us know, what do you think in the comment section below. What's next for Ryan Newman's future? And Brad Keselowski did used to be an owner in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series before shutting down the operation. That team was called Brad Keselowski Racing. However, he kept the door open to returning as a team owner, but not in the Truck Series, at the top level in the NASCAR Cup Series. With the next gen car arriving, there's been an increased interest in owning a Cup team. Denny Hamlin getting into ownership this year with 2311 Racing. BJ McLeod and Matt Tiff looking forward to the future with Live Fast Motorsports. Is it now or never if you're a driver interested in becoming a team owner, Adam? The Rick Hendricks, Jack Roush's, Roger Penske's, and Richard Childress's of the world aren't getting any younger, and we do need to see more younger team owners in the sport.
Oh yeah, I believe you hit the nail on the head, Kobe. You know, Rick Hendrick Motorsports will always be around. But if you're a driver wanting to become an owner in NASCAR, now is the time to do it. You know, we see what Denny Hamlin's doing right now. And it's been so far so good. And if Brad Keselowski really does go to Roush Fenway Racing, I think it'd be really good for him. Joining another team and to see how he would do.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I do think that it's a really good time to get into the sport, especially with the NASCAR business model changing over time. It's gonna become, I guess more eco friendly to run an organization. I know when they transition from the Gen 6 car to the next gen car, initially it's gonna be a lot of money they're gonna have to spend, but over time they should be able to save a lot of money. And especially with I mentioned Rick Hendrick, Jack Roush, Roger Penske, Richard Childress, they're getting up there in age and they're not going to be around forever. And I really hate that. But we do need to get younger owners in the sport. It's nice to see Denny Hamlin investing in Michael Jordan 2311 Racing. BJ McLeod, Matt Tiff got Live Fast going off the ground, run it. They're doing a great job in their first season together as team owners in the NASCAR Cup Series. Also, Justin Marks as well. He started up Trackhouse with Pitbull. I still can't believe Pitbull and Michael Jordan are two icons in the sport right now. Really, really crazy. And I do think that it is now or never. It's time to get involved in the sport and see Brad Keselowski wanting to get into ownership. That's something that NASCAR must be really excited to see. And we do have a comment right here from a viewer. Short Mac 88 thinks Matt DiBenedetto is going to be heading to Team Penske if Brad Keselowski does head off to Roush. And we all know Austin Cindric does have a contract to race at the Wood Brothers next year, and it also raises the question if Brad Keselowski does depart Team Penske, would Austin Cindric still move over to the Wood Brothers, or would the Wood Brothers decide to keep Matty D and move Austin Cindric to the 2 car, because it seems like it's inevitable that Austin Cindric is going to be a full-time Cup driver for Team Penske at some point. So might as well do it next year rather than Wood Brothers and wait a year. That would make the much sense. And the Wood Brothers have a really good relationship and love Matt DiBenedetto as their driver. And interestingly enough, Roush Fenway Racing is scheduled to make a major partnership announcement tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in regards to the number 17 Ford Mustang currently being driven by Chris Buescher. If it's related to the Brad Keselowski Motorsport.com exclusive, we'll definitely be sure to report it here on Grid Network. And that concludes another episode of Grid Tonight. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Network here on YouTube. And we encourage you to visit our Patreon page. Invest in us. Really appreciate Colin for supporting all these months, and our 2 new Patreon supporters, Mark and D Show. Really appreciate you for helping us supporting all we do here at Grid Network. And Poblets, be sure to check them out. Get your furry family members something special. They have dog leashes, clothing, and accessory for dogs of all sizes. 10% of your purchase goes towards helping homeless, sick, and rescue dogs. And we'll be back on the air tomorrow evening, same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for another special edition of Grid Tonight, everything Indy 500 and motorsports news as well. For Adam Limmeries, I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. Thank you for watching, and I'll say it's been a pleasure spending my 22nd birthday with you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Joe Samaniego here wanted to invite you to go check out Poblis. Poblis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Poblis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.